over starting a fire. At our last session we talked about what are the things that we need as a necessity for our bug out bag. One of the things I mentioned was the ability to make fire. So right now we're going to have a nice demonstration of the ways we can start fire. And I'm going to have my sons here to demonstrate it, because at an early age it's important to start this development and understanding of how to create fire. We have Micah Gaskin here, David Gaskin here, Caleb Gaskin here, and I'm Brandon Gaskin. These are my 3 sons. All right. So first, I want to show a basic fire starter. This is a basic fire starter. You can get it at Amazon. This right here has the things you need to start fire using a Ferris rod. So Caleb has a Ferris rod here, and he will demonstrate shortly ways to start fire using the Ferris rod. So we'll do the demonstration in a little bit. I'm going to show some other options. Another option, Micah proved me wrong. He said, I can make fire with these rocks, Dad. And I said, no, you can't. No, you can't. And when he practiced over and over and over, and he so happened to have the right type of rocks, he was able to create a spark. All you need is to create a spark, and you have some type of ignition source to fuel it. And if he was able to make a spark, then he could actually make fire. So that's one example of starting a fire. It's more primitive, but you see rocks everywhere. Different type of rocks have different type of level of friction, and then you could make fire based on the friction contact of the rocks when you strike them. And if you add that with some lint, this is the second source of start a fire, is using some dry lint. So it's free. David, can you explain what this is and how you get it?
Okay, so this is lint, and it comes from the dryer. So if you have any wet clothes and you put it in the dryer strips out all of the lint and all of the particles like on your suit now. And then it comes into a special space, and it is called lint. This is lint, and it is useful for fire, and it has been used many times in decades. So it's very useful. You want to have this in your fire pit.
Hey.
Awesome.
And also to add to that, which we do at home at times, we use what type of grass to start fire?
Lemongrass.
Lemongrass. So we have lemongrass at the house. Lemongrass has a lot of oil in it that's very, very flammable. So we use that as the beginning fire starter. So there's levels of creating a fire. What we want to do is be able to get the fire to start, but this material doesn't have a lot of thermal mass. Thermal mass is the ability to contain the heat. This is a quick start of fire, but you need something to sustain it. So I taught the kids this, I think it was 2 tabernacles, the last tabernacle ago. We had lemongrass, we started a fire, but we were having to feed it. The fire is hungry. Fire needs what? Oxygen. It needs a fuel source, and it needs to maintain that heat. Okay, so now we're gonna go into our demonstration. So first step, these are simple and easy. These are a simple lighter. These are easy to have in your bag. We have this in our bug out bag. If all the fuel's out of this, we want secondary means of creating fire. Everything we have to have a backup option. Some options may get ruined, damaged, might get all the fuel consumed. So we have to have other alternatives. So always remember, never rely on one option. Always have a backup in everything that you have, specifically fire. So we talked about rocks, we talked about the lint, we talked about lemongrass that could be used as a starting a fire. Caleb has practiced this many, many times using what's inside this Swiss safe kit. So what he has in his hands is one, a Ferris rod. Sometimes they have magnesium inside, and we scrape off that bit of magnesium into the fire starter, which is, in this case, we're going to use the lint. And we're going to cause a friction spark. And all that spark needs to do is, one second, let me back up here quick. All that spark needs to do is catch on this lint, and you will see this lint light up in fire. But one of the important things with fire, everything has to be done with decency and in order. When you create fire, before you even strike or make fire, you have to understand what's around it. So in this case, we have a paper. Paper is extremely flammable. But I have done this plenty of times and know the thermal mass of this is not enough to light this whole paper up. So what I have also is a water source in case of emergency. So anytime you create fire, you always have to have a means for extinguishing the fire. This scales up. If you have a bigger flame, you have to have a means for extinguishing that bigger flame. So always have to have a fire source and a means to extinguish. They come in pairs. So Caleb will demonstrate scraping off a little bit of the ferrous material. And what he's doing, can you explain what you're doing?
All right, so I'm scraping.
Nice enough.
All right, so on here, there's probably magnesium or some kind of fire starter material. And I'm scraping with the serrated edge to remove some of that onto my lamp. That'll help give the fire, it'll help start it better so it doesn't burn out as quickly. Now, like my dad said, it still needs a source of energy and oxygen. So it'll probably burn out really quick because it doesn't have anything like lemongrass or something else to heat it. So I'm just scraping off the magnesium. As you can see right here, scraped off a little bit.
Scrapings?
That'll help it.
So now you're going to add a little bit more friction against that rod, and now you're going to be able to see a spark form. So you could using it with this striker here. Also, you could use it with a knife. Same thing. The same purpose of it is to create friction across the ferrous rod, and you'll see sparks. Let me just do a quick demonstration with the sparks.
There you go.
See that? See that? See that? Yeah, that's what sparks look like. See that? So if this gets on you, it's not going to catch on fire because it doesn't have a good fire source. It has very little thermal mass, but that's all it takes. That little spark with something that's extremely flammable, and we have some more flammability stuff in here, it'll start catching on fire. So Caleb, do you mind using the striker and practice?
I would use the smooth edge because for me it works better. And wrong end. There we go. Gotta add a lot of pressure.
A lot of pressure.
Because pressure will help with friction.
We'll start the fire.
Get now.
They're gonna set it up.
Yep, almost there. Keep going.
This is my kind of stuff.
That's right.
Keep going. Almost there. Yep, got it.
Yep.
Awesome.
Nah, no sense.
Really?
So there's magnesium in there.
No.
So there's magnesium in there. So it's going to catch little sparks. So you see little sparks happening. And from here, this doesn't last long because it doesn't have enough thermal mass unless it heats up this paper. So this gets you enough to start a little bit of a dry wood, and you could maintain this fire. So I could transition this fire right now and maybe a little bit of embers over to that fire pit, and I could make a large fire where we could make s'mores, which I hopefully plan to do later today or this evening.
All right.
All right?
Yes.
So as we talked about, when you have a fire, you have to be able to extinguish the fire.
No.
Right there.
Awesome.
Yes, questions? Questions?